Every time a healthy baby is born, someone has to go. An old man watches his daughter's serious face as she holds her newborn. He feels helpless. No matter how much he wants to stay, he gently strokes her cheek one last time and says goodbye to his wife. Then he runs toward the cliff to meet God. In 2034, a mysterious virus sweeps across the globe. The mainland is mostly infected, leaving only Helgoland Island in the North Sea as a safe haven. With limited resources, it can only support 513 people. To prevent outsiders from bringing in the virus, they've built a solid blockade with massive ships. To maintain a stable population, the island's leader Beatrice sets up a ranking system based on skills and character. Whenever the population hits over 513, the bottom 3 in the rankings are put up for a vote on who has to go. Not long after the old man jumps, Doctor finds out the woman is having twins, adding another person to the island. Beatrice calls a meeting. Most think adding one more person is fine, but Beatrice insists on following the rules. She knows that if they make an exception this time, it'll happen again. So they decide to hold a vote soon. Curly Christian freaks out when he hears the news. He's in the bottom 3 because he lost points for wrecking a truck. Panic sets in as he imagines his fate. The second to last is an old woman who only has her granddaughter. And the last one is Etienne, a carpenter with a criminal past. Etienne is crushed. He's worked hard to turn his life around, but here he is, still at the bottom. That old lady is ruthless. To save herself, she tries to sneak away with the baby while the mom is asleep, but the mom catches her in the act. At her age, she can't put up a fight and has to slink away in defeat. Fast forward to the day of the vote. Everyone in the room gets to vote for one of the bottom 3 to decide who dies to make room for the newborn. The good news for Christian is that he won't be voted out today. Yesterday, he shared his food with a little girl in the market, making sure Beatrice saw it. So now, he gets a boost and moves up to 4th from the bottom. On the other hand, a lady drops to 3rd, but she's not all bad, so not many people vote for her. Then it's the old lady's turn. The pregnant woman is still furious about what happened a few days ago, so she immediately raises her hand to vote against her. Desperate to survive, Etienne votes with his wife. But honestly, not many people want the old lady gone. When it's Etienne's turn, nearly everyone votes against him. His past mistakes really haunt him, and the islanders can't let it go. When Beatrice announces that Etienne has to go meet God, his wife's trying to protect him. She drops a bombshell that shocks everyone in the room. People with money and power can really get away with anything. Beatrice's son Hendrik been using food to blackmail Etienne's wife into having relations with him. But now, more people are stepping up to speak out. It turns out Hendrik has harmed almost all the women on the island. When he realizes his crimes are exposed, he panics and rushes to his mother for protection. But according to the island's rules, what he's done is punishable by death. If Beatrice shields her son now, the islanders will definitely turn against her. Unable to bring herself to kill him, she decides to send the militia to the mainland for supplies, telling them to take Hendrik along to be exiled. It's her way of giving the islanders some justice. So, Etienne dodges a bullet and doesn't have to die this time. Meanwhile, the doctor's son Linus is going with them. Dr. Mark and Linus have been working in the lab every day, trying to develop a vaccine for the virus. But with a lack of supplies, materials, and equipment, they haven't made any progress over the years. Dr. Mark is using people as guinea pigs for his experiments, but those from the mainland are willing to go along with it. If they cooperate and help the doctor develop a vaccine, they get to stay on the island. And they hardly have a chance of surviving. Most end up burned to ashes within a week. So Linus decides to join the militia on their trip to the mainland to see if he can find some useful materials for the research. Dr. Mark doesn't want his son to take the risk, but Linus is determined. Doctor reluctantly tells the militia captain Mia to keep a close eye on him and make sure he doesn't wander off. Soon enough, the gates open. The militia and others set sail for the mainland. Once they arrive, they first exile Hendrik. Used to a cushy life, he is scared and starts spilling the beans about how his mother has hoarded supplies on the island. If they help him, he'll tell them where they are. But the militia isn't having it. They've long been fed up with him using his mother's position to get away with everything. They shove him toward the mainland at gunpoint. After exiling Hendrik, the group turns back to head to the city center to meet the Count for a supply exchange. The Count runs the show on the mainland and has his own army. Mia tells Linus to stay on the boat and not to wander off, then leads the others to the trading spot. The man with shoulder-length hair is the Count, but it's strange given the virus outbreak on the mainland. Why isn't he wearing a mask? As they approach, a guy comes running up, begging the militia to take him to the island. He claims to be an experienced mechanic, but before he can finish, Count's goons shoots him on the spot, warning everyone to keep their distance because he might be infected. Count then looks at the supplies the militia brought and sighs. After the virus outbreak, we can't even dream of such good food on the mainland. He offers some expired medication in exchange, which is better than nothing, even if it's past its prime. Meanwhile, Linus is getting impatient waiting on the boat. Ignoring orders, he sneaks off to explore. In this world, medicine is worth more than gold. Suddenly a boy throws a bottle of medicine at Linus. He picks it up and sees it's a flu vaccine, and it's still good. The boy claims he's discovered a ship loaded with advanced medical equipment and supplies, but he wants to be taken to the island with his friends in exchange for the ship's location. Linus knows he doesn't have the power to make that deal. While he's negotiating with the boy, the militia transporting supplies gets ambushed. Out of nowhere, an old man charges at the last soldier, beating him up. By the time the others notice and take him down, the soldier's mask has already been ripped off. Mia suspects the soldier might be infected and tells everyone to keep their distance, to avoid further attacks. She orders the team to abandon Linus and retreat immediately. On the other side, Linus's negotiation with the boy falls apart. In a panic, he fires a shot to scare them off and then rushes back the way he came, but only to realizes the main group has left him behind. He shouts and runs after them, but one of the attackers stops him. Linus quickly deals with him and sprints toward the main group. Thankfully, he makes it back just in time and jumps onto the ship. Just then, the boy leaps on board too, clutching the vaccine and pleading to be taken away. But before Linus starts to explain the situation, Mia shoots the boy without hesitation. As chaos unfolds, Linus discovers that his protective suit has been torn, leaving him vulnerable. When they return, both he and the soldier are locked up in the lab for quarantine. This unknown virus has destroyed the world. The soldier starts showing clear signs of illness, even with red spots beginning to spread on his skin. He quickly claims it's just a rash from being outside. But Dr. Mark, who frequently deals with infected patients, immediately recognizes it as a sign of the virus. Honestly, the soldier won't last much longer, and Dr. Mark can't be bothered to tell him he's infected. As for Linus, he hasn't shown any symptoms yet, but he's stuck in the lab for observation. He remembers what the boy from the mainland said about the ship and the vaccine. If they can find that ship, it could really help with the research. But when he tells Dr. Mark, he dismisses it, thinking it's just a ploy by mainlanders to gain access to the island. Meanwhile, Hendrik, exiled on the mainland, is like a zombie, starving and desperate. Soon he runs into Wilma, an old woman scavenging. Her little cart looks like a treasure chest, brimming with food. Just then, a woman approaches and tries to trade a watch with Wilma. Wilma sprays the watch with alcohol, then sprays the woman too, before tossing the watch into her cart without offering anything in return. The woman's furious but powerless, just leaves in defeat. Watching this unfold, Hendrik realizes Wilma has some tricks up her sleeve. He decides to join in, singing along to the song playing on her radio. Wilma's eyes light up. It's been ages since she's seen a handsome guy. But Hendrik's singing is pretty terrible, so she quickly shuts off the music to spare her ears. Then Wilma asks Hendrik what he has to trade. He pats his pockets, pulling out a cheap blue charm. Wilma takes it after sanitizing it but gives him nothing in return. Frustrated, Hendrik steps forward, determined to search her cart for some food. In the apocalypse, you should never underestimate old folks. Suddenly, Wilma pulls out a stun gun. Hendrik knows he can't fight her, so he decides to charm her instead. He struts over, whispering sweet nothings, and nearly leans in for a kiss. Before long, they're dancing right there in the street. Then they end up at Wilma's place, sipping champagne and smoking. It's a surprisingly elegant and luxurious scene in this grim world. But Hendrik really just wants to know how he can meet Count. However, Wilma refuses to take him to see him, so Hendrik looks for an opportunity and grabs a metal bar, ready to send Wilma to meet her maker. Meanwhile, at the port, Count discovers the boy Mia shot last time. He searches the boy's belongings and finds the flu vaccine. This rare resource could be key to developing a virus vaccine. So, he gathers up the boy's companions and starts interrogating them one by one about the vaccine source. They all stay tight-lipped. Count decides to have a private chat with the smartest kid among them. They strike a deal. Spark will reveal the ship's location, and in return, Count promises to get him on the island. Looks like Count has some plans in mind for that ship. After dealing with Wilma, Hendrik wanders around pushing her cart. Soon he spots a girl on the side of the road. He calls her over and pulls a valuable battery from the cart to give to her, pleading for information on how to meet Count. But the girl just laughs and says, "The Count is right behind you."
Hinter mir?
Before he knows it, he's grabbed and hung upside down like a pig, waiting to be someone's dinner. Will Hendrik manage to escape this fate? This has been a recap of episodes 1 to 4 of the series Helgoland 513. If you want to see what happens next, be sure to follow and subscribe. See you next time.